one of the things that I did here in doing this is I looked back at some things that had happened over the course of time this year and different opportunities that we missed at teaching, coaching, as a coaching staff, as players. And you look at different doors opening and closing and the opportunities that you get early in the playoffs that you think that might give you success and you miss on it. So I'm just going to play a video here for you guys.
Everyone wants something. We all have goals, desires. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. Yet 99% of people either never make a move toward what they want or they burn out, right? The gym is always a lot less crowded May 1st than it is January 1st. When that realization hits that improving yourself won't be some walk in the park, people begin to fall off. It's no longer worth it for them. So how do successful people get past that monotony, that struggle? What is the mindset that supports that growth? Because obviously that's key, right? Athletes, entertainers, all these people that are successful in the business world, it's not so much their genetics that separate their potential from yours, as it is their mentality and how they view the world as an instrument, not an inhibitor. They know with 100% certainty that pushing will get them what they want. And this confidence enables them to deal with all the negativity and the suffering they have to face to get there. It's a means to an end. John Paul DeJoria. Guy is a billionaire. He founded Patron Liquors, Paul Mitchell Hair Products. And at one point in his life, this guy's living in LA, sleeping in the back of his car with his son, right? Homeless, he has nothing. And I was recently listening to one of his talks. Someone asked him, John Paul, how can I be more like you? How can I be the next big billionaire entrepreneur? And he says, I have two pieces of advice for you that are instrumental to any success you'll have. The first one is you need to acknowledge and accept that doors are going to be slammed in your face all the time. If you don't have the strength in yourself to keep walking, to keep moving to the next door, then you don't really have a shot. The second thing he said is you need to be as enthusiastic on the 51st door that you knock on as you were on the first door. Because yes, door 1 through 50 could shut right in your face. But that 51st door could just be the one that changes your life. But if you give in or you let your energy fade, after a few failures, a couple negative experiences, you'll never be able to walk through it. And what a tragedy that would be. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Back in his bodybuilding days, he's Mr. Universe, best bodybuilder in the world. He goes through these grueling 5-hour-a-day training sessions. Someone asks him, hey Arnold, how come every time I see you at the gym, you're smiling? Right, I look at the other bodybuilders in here, they're not smiling, they're very focused, very serious looks on their faces. And he says, because every rep I do, regardless of how bad it hurts, takes me one step closer to my goal. And that satisfaction brings me more happiness than anything else in the world. Both of these guys bring context to what it means to be truly committed to something. To what must be endured between right now, as you're listening to me speak, and the time you open your 51st door. When the gym, the office, the library, whatever it is in your context, when it starts to feel like a burden and you'd rather be on the couch or you'd rather be out with your friends, remind yourself of what that door opening is going to feel like and why concentrating on your next step forward means everything.
So as coaches, your players, the things that we've gone through, and we've always come to doors that have obviously closed on us. For myself, a little bit of history. I played for the Saskatoon Blades for 4 years. My first year, we hosted the Memorial Cup. We lost to Swift Current in the second round. Had some time off before we played the Memorial Cup tournament. My last year with the Saskatoon Blades, we went to the finals against Kamloops before losing in Game 7 to go to the Memorial Cup. In Saskatoon as a coach, we hosted the Memorial Cup, lost in the first round, 4 straight. At that point in that year, we definitely didn't deserve to be there. We had a good team, but losing 4 straight in the first round is it doesn't give you too much credibility. Last year, we went to the finals, lost in Game 6 to Seattle to go to the Memorial Cup. And this year, we lost in the first round to Swift Current in Game 7, where we felt really good about our game, similar to last year against Seattle. And it put us in a situation losing to have to train for 45 days. So if you can think, what did you do to prepare? First thing you got to do is you got to have me on your team, because you're going to lose to Swift Current in the first round, and you're going to have to prepare for a long time. So now you've got 45 days. You give your players 9 days off. You got them reset, refocus, okay? Get everything they need to get out of their system, because when they come back, they're going to have 6 weeks of training blocks that we as coaches, we research. We speak to Rocky Thompson in Windsor. We use my experience in Saskatoon hosting. We talk to Steve LaRouche in Shawinigan. Shawinigan and Windsor, both teams that hosted, lost out early. They won. In using that with my experience and our coaching staff, we put together 6 weeks of training blocks. The 7th week is the final 3 days before the tournament starts, and it's going to be way more difficult than actually playing through. So proceeding with this, I hope that when you guys, in my presentation, the takeaways within the 6 weeks are going to be some of the things that I've shown. The first video talking about the 51st door, the energy that our players are going to need every day. How are we going to build these doors? Some of them we're going to walk through. Some of them are going to close on us. We have to find a way to bring the players to the rink every day, make sure that they have the energy, and they have to enjoy the process. So we have to find a fine line. So with this presentation, hoping that you can take pieces of it to incorporate into your seasons, because within 6 weeks, when you're not playing games, it's hard. We know what it's like in training camp. If you bring your players in, whatever it is, your 4 weeks, you got your exhibition games, you're incorporating a lot of different things, you got lots of players. We got our team. We're going to be together the whole time. So doing the training blocks was the research and everything is easy, but what the substance is that we put into it was going to be the most important thing. So once that's done, here's what they look like. This is what the stick's for. This is training block 1, our team meeting, okay? A light skate team meeting with the players. It was going to be really important. We get through the first week. We've got skills, which I'll get into in a little bit. We've got on-ice circuits. We've got battle days. Okay, this is into training block 3, where we've established a real good base, our conditioning, different types of things there. This is the way it looked. We had some workouts in the morning. Again, taking into account that we've got some school kids, non-school guys, yoga classes, again, on-ice circuits. One of the things, and I'll get into the competition day at the end, competition day at the end of it, on day 4, We started off 4 days on, 1 day off. We did a 5-day on, 1 day off. We went down to 3 later on. Here's training block 6. This was right before we were into our week 7, which was 3 days of practice. Now we had to incorporate game situations, morning special teams. We actually did pregame skates, dry runs, so that our days, we mimicked exactly what 3 of our days would look like in the round robin. So we had the pregame skates. We brought in alumni, University of Regina Cougars players. Brad Haroff did a great job in bringing in different types of players so that we could become a real competitive game day. And then we rolled into our day 7 of training block 6 with days off in there, so that when we stepped on the ice for the final 3 days before the first game, we were ready. And we had a good tournament. So now it was the real hard part. The players come back after their 9 days off. The day 1 debrief of the season and the first round. Over that 9 days, the stuff, the content that we needed to bring up in that day 1 with the players was going to be really difficult, because it was going to be really harsh, very blunt on the individual players, on our team as a whole, really hard on our leadership, in order to get the season and the first round behind us. Because we felt we had a really good first round against Swift Current, but there was parts of that and the stuff that Swift Current did in the first round, again, I'll get to that, that we felt we could have had success, but we really analyzed it really close, and there was a number of things that we missed out on as a group that we had to reveal and get the players' thoughts on it, so that when we did come to the reality of it, that debrief, it was very clear to the players that this was going to be the most important part of the next 6 weeks. Because once we got that out there to the players, reality would sink in. Okay, the one thing here, we accept the loss to a really good team. The stuff that Swift Current did in the first round was everything, and they did it throughout the playoffs, that you needed to do to win a championship. It had nothing to do with systems. It had nothing to do with the coaching. It had nothing to do with individual players. It had to do with the smallest little things that you need to do to win a championship. Things that we did well, again, we went to Game 7. We lost by 1 goal. We felt really good about our game. We felt we could have won that Game 7, which may have, may not. We all know that every round is different. It's the playoffs, taking us right to where Swift Current was and possibly gotten us in the front door as the host team. So we did think there was a lot of really good things, but the stuff that they did well and more of was the most important thing. And we spent a lot of time in those 9 days watching video and breaking down our face-offs. Swift controlled the paint. They controlled the dots. They finished in the paint, both ends, really well. One of the things that we did in the Memorial Cup that got us to the final, we blocked more shots than any of the other teams. And discipline. Again, not so much discipline with the systems, but discipline within the penalty box. We were in the penalty box in the first round against Swift Current, I believe, an average of 6-7 times, Hoff. And that was 7 games, but there was only 1 penalty in Game 7. So that was a major part against Swift Current, who had a potent power play. So those are things that we really incorporated into our debrief, giving our players that more, what Swift did more of, what we are going to have to do more of in the next 6 weeks to give us an opportunity to have success, first and foremost, in Game 1, because our focus was going to be on Game 1 against the Ontario champions, because that first game is so important. And because of our loss to Swift Current, We do owe them a lot. Beating us gave us a real strong foundation to build on. And then at the end of it all, we had a base. We were going to put ourselves in a position with the reality of it. Our players understood it. We all signed off on it, and we could move on. Now, moving on with a purpose, when I speak about the stuff that we do as coaches, and you do it in your season plan, we had to cram everything into 6 weeks so that, again, that game one was going to have a little bit of an effect on how we carry our tournament out. Winning that game would set us up really good, which it did. And day one after the debrief was going to be just as important. But one of the things that was real difficult for us when we talk about Swift Current, and the more that they did in the first round, would have forced us to move out of our comfort zone. And if you see this here, just searching through quotes, when you feel that you did everything you could, there's always more. The more we didn't do, and it was going to be, we were required to do that more in 6 weeks without playing games. And we could have saved ourselves all of that by doing the stuff that Swift did in the first round. So we lived off of that. We built everything off of that. And we're coaches. We cheat. The things that they did well, we're going to work on for 6 weeks, because it got very evident when they got through the second round, the third round, and into the finals. Their game did not change. So we were doing the right things, we felt, because of what Swift Current had done to us and the following teams. So before we moved on, we brought our players in after we were done the short debrief, and we needed to get through the daily routine. These guys were going to come in, they're going to be together morning, noon, sometimes in the evening. This is the price we're going to have to pay. No excuses, complaining, all of that stuff was going to be really key. So we played this video here.
Some people are eagles and some people are ducks. Do you know the difference? Eagles, they kind of hunt live prey, don't they? They soar high. They keep their families protected, out of harm's way. Strong and independent, find my own food, take care of myself, attack my enemy, kill the things I need to eat, protect my family, rest, go out, hunt some more. I think I got a room full of eagles. Guess what some people are? Ducks. Got a few working for you? You've seen them in the office. What? You know who they are? You got names already, don't you? You know who these little waddlers are? How you doing today? I'm fine. Room's too hot. Food wasn't there. Not enough coffee. He said I'd get the next laptop. How come I didn't get the new cruiser? God, what a mallard. Your job as a leader is to get this duck doing what? Soaring like an eagle. Don't commit them to duckdom. You give them things to do that'll separate them from the masses. See, one thing about a duck, I call them ducks because they're like losers. It comes from an old thing that came out by Wayne Dyer years ago. They're losers. And losers got to be around what? Other losers. So if you get up with your attitude of neutral, guess what's going to happen? Some loser's going to attach himself to you, and next thing you know, you just quit soaring. If you come in like an eagle, they can't get you on the pond, you see. But if you walk in saying, how you doing? Fine. And you have no attitude, someone's going to say, boy, this job really sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. I'll follow you. Job sucks. At least you have an attitude. You get up with an attitude of gratitude. You get up with a positive attitude. You start soaring like an eagle. And their ducks are going to look different to you, aren't they? And you find them in little patches. You'll never see one duck flying in a V. And you'll never find one loser alone. They have to have other what? Losers.
We didn't know what direction this video was going to go with our players, but I was walking through the dressing room into the weight room one day, and I saw an eagle on the whiteboard. The back of the eagle, wings spread open. It said, soaring like an eagle on the top. I'm not sure who put it up there, But at that point, I went back to John and Brad, and I said, you guys aren't going to believe this, but I think it was one day after we showed the video, it had already taken on a life of its own. And again, some of this stuff for us as players, the mental side of it, some players like it, some don't, but it took on a life of its own, and we could see that with that instance with the players, and it carried over into the practice that day, where they, at the end of practice, when the players got together, because it was a leadership thing. It wasn't something that we as coaches, it was something that they as players did. They got together and they're at center ice, and it was 1, 2, 3 Eagles. And it was like that every time they were on the ice, whether we were doing skills in the morning with 5, 6 guys, our group sessions in the afternoon with 12 guys, they were 1, 2, 3 Eagles, right through the 6 weeks, right into the Memorial Cup tournament. And it was really something special for our guys, even so much that on the back of our tournament T-shirts, it was an eagle soaring down as a predator on some prey. And again, the life of its own, and we really feel that this was a big part of our success. The players came in every day. The fact that they weren't complaining about things. We had, I think in the first 2 weeks, we had one bad day, but it wasn't because of complaining. It was just long days with the same group of guys. It gets hard. It's difficult. It really fucking sucks. So those types of things are really important when you're putting something together, that the understanding of the players and the coaching staff that we can do stuff to create energy for them. And this one was really important in creating the energy. So now we could move on with the purpose, our conditioning, our rest and recovery. We knew this was going to be important. We knew we could do this because of the time off. Unfortunately, any injuries, bumps, bruises through the course of the end of the season and into the tournament we could take care of. In speaking with Rocky Thompson in Windsor, one of his keys was to become the most fit team, which they were. They utilized that at the tournament when they won it, and that was one of our goals. So we took advantage of it. Our practices, short, hard, competitive. We all talk about, getting the most out of your players, but how are you going to do that with 24 guys? So we went into some small groups. We did skill sessions, small area games. We did some fitness testing, some point games. Our groups, what we did is, and we brought in different voices. So at the start, when you saw the calendar there, the schedule that we had, for the first 3 weeks, we brought in Dean Seymour, who some of you may know. He's from Saskatoon. He's in Calgary now working with Hockey Canada. He became a different voice for us in doing some skill development in the morning for the non-school guys. We broke those guys up into 3 groups. We did our D-men. We did our wingers. We did our centermen. We split it up really good so that Dean could utilize different aspects of his skill for the benefit of our players. Small area games, within the skills, one of the things we felt that Swift did, and I talked about it already, was blocking shots. So that was a skill within our practices that we were going to have to get better at. We knew that Max Paddock, 17-year-old kid, was going to be our starting goalie once he was healthy, so we were going to have to do a lot to help him out as a group, as a team here. So one of the things that we did, and Brad was a big part of this in developing this drill. We did this drill every day. Last drill we did before we left the ice, and this will just go to show us as coaches, when you watch this and you look at what we did in the tournament, we took on a whole new meaning to blocking shots, every aspect of the game. We were in the way of the puck all the time. So here's a 1.5-minute clip of one of the drills that we did. It's just an overspeed drill with a middle attack. Get the puck to the outside, talk about using the pads. We talk about Swift getting to the paint and owning the paint in both ends. And we got net presence, working on tips, net presence, shot off the pads. But now they got a back check. and now we got 3 shots in this end. You have to block the shot, clear the zone, clear the house. If you don't, you have to skate back check to the other paint and do the same thing until all 3 guys get a block. We'll see here what happens when you don't block it. So 2 pucks got through, 3 pucks get through. Now they got to get down to the other end. We evolved this drill. We moved the players up to the top of the circle so that it was a more realistic block for the forwards off of low to high plays or killing penalties. And it really sucks if you miss it too. End-to-end conditioning at the same time. But in doing this, that was one of the things that we felt gave us success in blocking shots in the tournament. Small area games, we incorporated that stuff into every game. You guys do it in your practices, so there's not much to say about that. The testing, we did 3 skate tests at the end of training blocks where there was nothing left on that day other than a skate test that Brad set up. It was set up, you had to do a certain skate within a certain amount of time, and you had to try to make that time consistent. Our point games were based on our loss to Swift Current. And this became one of the more fun things that we did as coaches. Because we did separate groups as practices, so we'd have 12 guys on the ice in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, and then we'd have another group of 12 at 3:15. We got more out of our players because we weren't out there as long. The players got more repetition, there was more battle, there was more conditioning. And then at the end of our training blocks, we brought both of those teams together. And we kept those teams pretty consistently the same. When we brought them together, we'd have a compete day. And within that compete day, we talked about what Swift Current did more of. So Swift Current won more face-offs. So the team that won the face-off would get a point. Obviously, if you score a goal, you get a point. Turnovers was a minus. Turnovers included penalty kill clears, blue line turnovers, offsides. That was a turnover. If you took a bad penalty, that was a minus. So we incorporated everything that Swift Current did better into our games. And so if it was a 6-3 game for Team Blue, but Team White had more things, they did more things right, they could win 7-6. They could win 7-2 because of the more blocked shots, the more face-offs won. So when we look back to the Swift Current series, we felt that we outshot them for the majority of the games. We carried the play a lot. We had puck possession, higher percentage of time, but we still lost. So this was really important when we spoke to our players and we finished the games on the last day, and the team that thinks they won, they end up losing. It happened 2 of the 3 times that the losing team ended up winning because of all of the small things that they did right within that game. And we as coaches, we always talk about what are the little things that you're going to do to win a championship. Well, we feel that Swift Current did all of those little things right through to get to the Memorial Cup. So it was working for us as a team, and it was evident within these small games that we played that the little things could be beneficial to us. And it ended up being that way throughout the training blocks, and it was that way we feel in getting us to the finals. Our team building was pretty fun. We got to do a couple things. The victory dinners, the winning team within our point games, they got to go for dinner. We sent them along just as a group, as their own small group of the winning team. These little things, these little parts, obviously we know as coaches are really important to players. we brought in Jamie Clark. I don't know if you guys, has anybody heard of Jamie Clark? He's climbed Mount Everest twice. I had seen him before, and he was gracious enough to come and see us. I'll show you a little clip of what he does. And again,
John finds himself high on the mountain, in behind some rocks. Ooh, it's very heavy. Got in behind this rock to get out of the wind that had been hammering at him all day. He couldn't see where he was. It was a whiteout. I mean, you could see 3-4 feet in front of him, that's it. Finally, the clouds part, the summit reveals itself. This picture here. Poorly framed, badly exposed. Give him a break. He's about 160 meters from the summit. Meters, a block and a half. He's a block and a half from the top of the world. He checks the time, 3 o'clock, late in the day. He's wondering, okay, it's about 40 more minutes of climbing, and then you're on top. Okay, think about that. Average climber's up there 10, 12 minutes, maybe even less. I go up there, takes a picture, be on the way down by 4.
That I broke out of it. He spoke to us for 45 minutes, and our players loved it. Again, we talk about different voices, the skills, the team builders, things we did. This was a big part of it for us. Concert, we went to the Humboldt Broncos benefit concert. It was dress up for us. Everybody had to try and put together their best country outfit, hopped on the bus, and went to Saskatoon. And then the organics, which in everything that we did throughout the 6 weeks, the battle practices, the fights in practice, the stuff that happens in the gym, dinners as a group, those things are things that happen at all of those things. Those are the things that we as coaches, you always hope, but we actually spoke about them, and we're hoping that we could put our players in a position that some of this stuff could happen. And it happened. I mean, it was a daily thing for us. So within the Jamie Clark and the concert, the point games, the fitness testing, the Eagles and Ducks video, that stuff all became team builders for us. And I think that was, those are some of the things that you hope would happen as far as bringing the team close, and it did. Then it was game situations. How are we going to, when you're not playing, it's going to be near impossible to simulate it. But like I said, Brad brought in a lot of players, old alumni that we had here, some players from around Regina, and it worked out well. We had one game where it wasn't so good. It was more of a joke for our players, which we addressed. Our inner squad stuff, we had enough players here that we could make 2 teams of 3 lines. We did 3 periods, but what we did is we broke it down. We had a 16 minutes of power play penalty kill, and we broke that into 2 8s. We did 5-on-5, we did 4-on-4, and then we moved into just the special teams and the 5-on-5 stuff. So we had refs from the Western Hockey League that came in and helped us out. So those were key things. At the same time, we had our office staff, the business operations, go through 2 games of simulation for what they were going to have to go through during the time of the tournament. And we actually did the same thing in Saskatoon when Hilty and I were there together. So, and everything, including lights, advertising on the clock, everything, the PA announcements, all the volunteers, everybody on hand for 2 games, so that when it came game time for the first game, it was game on for them, and we felt really good about it. In closing, I hope you guys take a little bit of everything or some of nothing. There again, it's a short period of time. Not a lot of people get to experience this once, let alone 3 times. But I think that a little bit of some of the stuff that we did, you can incorporate into your daily routine easily. And we're all doing it already. For me, what we did, having experienced it, we feel that it made us successful. So over the course of your time as coaches, I think that there is a level of success that you can have with it, and adjust it, cheat off it, make it your own, and grow your players within it. Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to say the smaller groups, so you didn't have to practice. It's different for different teams with the ice time. For me, we loved, and again, I'm answering it, but I'm not answering, the small group stuff that we did. If you could ever do that with your team where you get more out of less ice, because the players, when you run into an hour and 15, they're already done. That's one thing that I really feel. If you could get the most out of your players in a short amount of time, more energy, they want to be there more. That was one of the things we really felt. The team building stuff, those are organics. You can create a lot with that too, the smaller groups. I know that some of us don't have that opportunity because of the ice times, but I think that was one of the big things for us. We get to do that. We have the ice, so that becomes a benefit.